Sometimes before flight, passengers will come visit us, which is great, by the way, especially the kids. So if you've ever wanted to do that, please come on up. We love it. And a comment we get almost every single time is, "Wow, that's a lot of buttons." That is exactly how I felt the first time I opened up Godot. So what does a pilot do when they have no clue how to make a game? They treat it like learning a new airplane. Before we ever get into a flight simulator or the real airplane, we have to go through ground school. It's formal classroom training and some online courses where we learn the systems, all the numbers, all our procedures. We learn all the buttons. Because the simulator is expensive, and you don't want the first time you're getting in the sim being the time that you're trying to figure all this stuff out. So that's how I approached learning Godot. I said I needed some formal training. So in addition to watching YouTube videos, I signed up for some tutorial courses, thinking that was the best way to learn. So I went on some of the major educational websites that offer those courses, and there's quite a few, and some of them are pretty good. And I started following along on the tutorials. So the first one had me build a simple scene with some little hobbit sprites and a wizard, and it taught you how to load them up. You wrote a very, very simple script, and eventually had your 3 little hobbits that you duplicated, and you would just try to get them to like spin around and move, and that was fine. And it did help me build some general familiarity with the system and just give me an idea of what was going on. Then the next thing we did was a little bit more of an advanced script. This time you had an ocean scene with a helicopter and an aircraft carrier and an airplane. You wrote a couple different scripts, and we started building some logic into it. So ultimately what you had was the airplane would follow your mouse cursor around on the screen. It's actually giving me a little bit of Top Gun PTSD right now looking at it. And that was a little bit more complex, and it was a little bit better. And then I moved on to the next tutorial, but I was starting to get kind of bored with it. I also realized when you change one tiny thing and it all falls apart, you realize you have no idea why any of it worked in the first place. I wasn't learning, I was transcribing. That's the part of the early journey I think that gets undersold. There's a long, frustrating stretch where you can technically make things happen, but you don't understand a single one of them. At some point, you have to close the tutorials and build something nobody handed you. That's the scary jump, because there's no video to copy anymore. It's just you and the blank project and every gap in your knowledge all at once. So I decided to build a tiny, self-contained thing of my own. 1 room, 1 fight, just to find out if I could actually assemble something from scratch. And here's what I made. A single dungeon room, a fully animated pixel knight with 8 directional movement, an orc that reacts when you hit it, screen shake, a working health bar. Now, every experienced developer watching this just winced, because there is a very strong, very correct piece of standard advice that says, do not do this. When you're prototyping, you're supposed to use gray boxes, plain rectangles, no art, no juice, no polish, because all that is a waste of time on something you're just testing. And they're right. Technically, they're completely right. I did it anyway, on purpose, and I want to defend that, because I think the standard advice is built for people who already know they can finish. I didn't need a gray box to test collision. I needed to watch a real-looking knight hit a real-looking orc and have my brain finally believe I can actually do this. For a beginner, protecting your own motivation is not a waste of time. It might be the most important thing you do. A gray box is efficient. It's also quietly demoralizing. And when my 8-year-old came up and I handed the controller and said, "Hey, play this," she grabbed the controller and she ran around with the little knight and whacked on the orc. I could see her smile. She played it for about 30-40 seconds, and then when she was done, she handed me the controller back and just nonchalantly walked out of the room and said, "It's pretty fun already." That one statement gave me the motivation to push through the next 10 hours of debugging. That prototype proved I could assemble a thing. Dead Reckoning is the bet that I can assemble a thing worth finishing. And the next video will start with actually making that game.